I am a volunteer for FIRST. My profession is a technical writer. And what I do is I come behind engineers, sometimes software engineers, sometimes hardware engineers, sometimes mechanical engineers, and I write the maintenance manuals, and I also write the operating manuals that go with it. I've also written software manuals, like software programming languages, or basic C, that type of thing. So I've done a lot of different types of writing, and that's one of the things that qualifies me to do this presentation. While I've not done storyboarding per se for animation, I use storyboarding a great deal when I want to develop a training class, when I want to scope out and lay out an operating manual, where I want to know exactly what's happening at what point. And I may use a storyboard to develop that, then I can write around that storyboard. So I use it for qualifying something, validating my work, and making sure that I've got all the pieces. I've worked for a large, whole variety of software companies, worked for oil and gas companies, worked for Walt Disney Imagineering for a while in Southern California. I've been a volunteer with FIRST for 12 years. Been here for, this is my 4th year for Wisconsin. The other years were all in Southern California. And like I said, that's how I use Storyboard, is I use that for idea validation and also to track progress of things so that I can know that I really am on step 3. Why do you need to do storyboards? You're doing storyboards because I assume you're contemplating having an entry in the Autodesk visualization, which is that's the animation piece that you have. Part of that requirement for that award is to have storyboards. There's lots of software out there to develop and do and create storyboards, and you can certainly do that and use them. However, you've got 6 weeks. You've got to learn, if you haven't already, you've got to learn whatever software you're going to be doing to create your animation. That's where I think you should use your focus. And use your time to learn and to get familiar with that software. Some of you that have done animation in the past will know that learning some of that software like Maya is not something that's straightforward. I think that's a good way of putting it. So my recommendation for you is to do storyboards that can be hand-drawn. They could be done in PowerPoint. I mean, there's no rules about how they're done. Autodesk says all I have to do is I have to have that image of the storyboards up and was submitted with the animation. So you get them all sketched out, and probably that's what you're going to do for your first step anyway. And then you can just scan them, create a PDF, upload that somewhere. Okay, let's talk about what a storyboard is. I assume all of you have written papers at various points. Have you ever created an outline to do those papers? That's what a storyboard is. It's a visual outline. Only thing it is, what it's going to do is it's going to capture information that you're going to communicate to your animation team. And we'll talk a lot more about what kind of things you're going to be communicating to your team. But it's also, it can be like a little bit of a comic book. The same concept. If you open a panel up, you go by frame by frame by frame by frame. Another word is cell by cell by cell by cell to move your story. It also, supports the narrative of the story. When you develop an animation piece like Toy Story or Cars or any of the other big animations that have gone on. There are storyboards and there are scripts. And the scripts and the storyboards tie together. There'll be a script that'll come along here and there'll be a reference margin over on the right-hand side that says, oh, this belongs to storyboard ABC 45, whatever it is that's going down there. They develop a numbering system for it so they can keep track of all those storyboards. This is a storyboard. There's a lot of things that's being communicated on here. Not only just the line of the story itself. It's moving from the upper left, going down to the lower right. One of the things that's happening here, if I can get this to work, this little piece that's right here, they're giving some instructions on how, okay, thank you. This one right here, this is giving specific instructions to the camera. Where am I supposed to start? No, because this could be a camera that's actually filming a set. I want to start at this particular point in the set. I want to pan through as this person comes down the hallway to this office door. And that's why that box is a little bit larger, because it's actually showing motion. This is showing the motion of the character as it moves. Now, one of the other things it's doing, it's also showing that I want to focus in on the character's face here at this particular point. I'm giving you, say, it's a pan shot of Cardiff down hall to his inner office. So you see the pieces all going here. You're going to a second shot. This is actually in his office. He's opened the door now, and he's gone into the office. And it kind of gives you the sketch. Okay, here's his computer, here's his desk, there's a window, and that's that door, and that's that door. So then we come down here to 3, and this is a new scene altogether. He's seeing this from the window here. So there's a person that's come out of the bar, and he's picked up his coat, and he's gone out, and he's now come in, and now this person's coming in here with a gun. Okay? And this is what's following this all the way through here. Now, more than what's actually going on in this particular shot is right now all this piece is doing is communicating camera, action, and a general setup. Your animation piece has got to communicate more than this. It's also got to communicate color. For example, what color is the hallway wall that's back here? What color is the office door here? You know, when I come through, what's the wall color here? When I redo this scene down over in here, this wall color behind the guy in the desk has got to be the same color as this is. So I want to make sure that I talk about what that color is. What that is specifically. If this guy's got a suit on, and I start off in here as a brown suit, and I end up with a black suit down here, I lose continuity. My viewer gets lost. You know, is that the same guy? Is that the same desk? Even though the wall may be side, you know. So consequently, as you split this work up amongst yourself, you've got to make sure that you keep track of all those details. Your storyboards can convey that information. Here is Team 16-17's storyboard. They were a winner of the Autodesk visualization award last year. Now you'll notice theirs is very, very simple. But one of the things they have determined right here is they have captured this same color all the way through as this goes. So you know who the character is all the way through. These little birds actually are in the shape of a triangle and a circle and a box. So for those of you that are familiar with the first symbols, and that was kind of a cute way to bring that through. So that the triangle is always red, the circle is always white, the box is always blue. So this was, a cute way of doing it. You notice it's not complicated. It's very straightforward. I suspect, I could not tell how they did this through this. This may actually be done in a software. It could have been scanned and, cleaned up and brought in. Here are the storyboards for Team 2108, again a winner from last year. Now you'll notice, theirs are very, very rough. I mean, they are just, there's some, I couldn't bring this up any darker to be able to see what it was. But and that wasn't the whole reason for it to show that. It was really to see, what this was actually doing here. And just to show you that it doesn't have to be complicated. The Autodesk winners, I'm wondering if I can come out of that. Unless they're at this particular URL. With that. Okay, so let's talk about what the storyboard actually does. It tells you the order of the scenes that you're going to be doing. It tells you, it should communicate your color scheme that you're going to be using throughout. It's going to give you camera shots. Now on the back of your handout, what I've done is I've copied off of the URL. It's not original work, I just go to imagination. And I've noted it down at the bottom. It says where I got it. Here's some terminology about camera language and how that all gets used. And so consequently, this becomes something that you need to write on, and all your animation team should know this vocabulary. So when I say that I want something panned, I want a steady, sweeping movement from one point in the scene to another point in the scene. You can look at, and we'll look at the handout. On the handout again, if you look at frame 7, that's what's called a point of view. This point of view is when the guy, this guy has gotten thrown out of a bar, and he is now looking at the person. He's laying down on the ground in front of the car on the street, and he is looking up at the man who's coming to beat him up. Okay? And so consequently, he's looking up because he's laying down. He's looking up and into the face of this person as it comes through the swinging doors. Okay. A reaction shot, if you'll see that, you'll go back over here to your handout. 9, is that 9? No, it's, I gave you the wrong number, I'm sorry. 9 is that point of view shot. What they've done is now move the shot, they cut away from the guy coming from the door, and they are looking now at the bystanders that are on the street. And that is called, a reaction shot. I think that most of these, or the rest of them, are pretty, easy to understand. But these are all things that you want to think about, because as you use your animation, you're going to be doing that. Now, I assume that, one of the things, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, about modeling, but you're going to want to model these characters that you've got in your animation, because you'll want that consistent size shape to be throughout. Because you don't want to have to redraw everything over and over and over again. Some of the first steps that you're going to be looking at here is forming your animation team. This is not a job for one person, okay? You will kill yourself in 6 weeks if you have to do it all yourself. That's one of the purposes of the storyboards, is so that I can give storyboard frames 1 and 2 to 2 people on the team, 3 and 4 to somebody else, and on down the line. And then you can tie all those together. But if I have a consistency in color and I've got my characters modeled and I can do everything like that. The other thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to develop a schedule. Now, the schedule itself will get driven a lot by the fact of whatever your story ends up being. I like, this again varies from team to team. You may not have the larger teams. You may have 10 people. You may have 15 people on your animation. The smaller teams, you may have 2 or 3 or 4. I would recommend always having 2 as a minimum. When you go to develop your story, I would, like I said, split the group up into 2 or 3 groups. And it may be, if you've got a really small team, what I'd like to see you do is to include everybody on the team. Take an hour and everybody sit around and say, okay, let's dream up the story that we want to tell for first. Because this time period that you're going to be doing this is about, it varies from year to year how many seconds they actually have. And I think it's 90 is the max. But you don't have to use all of it. One of the winners that was up there this year was 45 seconds. So if you've got your story and you can tell it in 45 seconds, do it. But what they're trying to do is say, we don't want something that's 5 minutes long. And outside of the fact that it will take you a long time to do something for 5 minutes. So you want to brainstorm these groups. Let everybody think of different ideas for your story. Have them all come together and then present your ideas so that everybody can hear the ideas. You may end up taking a little bit from this one, a little bit from this one, a little bit from this one, and creating a separate story that has all these features in it that really ends up being a strong story for you. And that's one of the reasons why I encourage you to do some brainstorming with that. When you get finished with that, present the whole thing back to the team and make sure that you can validate it, make sure that you can sound it out. Because if you can't sound it out and talk about it, you're not going to be able to animate. Then, if you've got 2 or 3, then maybe you can vote on a favorite. It may become obvious, oh, that's the one where everybody should go. Then you're going to develop your script and you're going to develop your story. And I put these little arrows in here because I want to show you that that's an iterative process. It's not something that you do one time. You're going to come back and you're going to make changes to it. You're going to make alterations as you kind of develop the scenario and the script. Why are you going to be developing a script? Because somebody's going to be talking behind this, right? All the animation pieces. How many of you have never seen any of the animation from this? Okay, we'll show. I'll go up and we'll hook up to that anyway, so you can see a couple of the winners. and see what they were. But there's somebody talking, or the characters talking behind. It can be, depends on how the voice is actually done. And then, when you get all this done, you model your characters through whatever software you're using, and then you want to make sure that that modeling stays consistent throughout the scenes, and then finally you put it all together. Other things to consider: music. If people will say, "Oh, well, I'll use this pop song. I'll use this." Well, it is copyrighted, and unless you have express written permission to use that song, you will be disqualified as you enter that. So understand that. So if you don't know what you know, yeah.
Can you use 30 seconds of a song?
No. You may need to legally, you may legally be able to do it, and Autodesk won't let you do it. Okay. And so what they encourage you to do is to create your own music with that, or find music that's not copyrighted. And that's why I tell you to consult the band director.
There's a website we used in our animation last year, or I was one of the groups, and we used Custom Cloud from Contact.com. You've got all those.
Right, right. And again, and it may be that somebody, you may have, there's a local group or something that's around that's got some music that would be glad to do it, and make sure that you, in the credits of your animation, that you give them credit, that you recognize where that music came from. Animation doesn't have to have music. Brains did it. The animation piece about the little robot in the garbage dump. The movie. Wow. There's whole scenes. If you sit and listen to that, there's whole scenes in Wall-E that doesn't have any music. You just hear his little voice. There's no reason why your animation couldn't be the same. Music is not necessarily a requirement. And you can create your own. And there's no problem with that. Voiceovers. Test the voices of your team. Go around the mic, get everybody to say the same sentence over and over. And they decide you want somebody who's got a really deep voice to do the announcement. On the other hand, you may not want to, to have anybody in a natural voice at all. If you've got some little character that you may want to have somebody in a real high, little pipsqueak little voice, and so you've got to find somebody who can make that voice for you. So think about that. And then, of course, then you can also morph the voices electronically to do that. I have got the end of this slideshow here. Let's see if I can bring up this URL. I've got to figure out, I've got too many keyboards up here. Yeah, I thought so. I was hoping. On my machine, it will do that.
Or control code. If you go into presentation mode, it should be, you should be able to put that.
Check. Let's try. Where is it?
Bottom right.
Bottom right. Here it is. Okay.
We've got ours on Zoom, if you want to see core engineers, we got that up on Google.
Okay, well, I was going to go to, let's see, what's that URL? I'm prejudiced. I'm going to go to, now, this is Code Blue. This is off of Team 1515, which is Beverly Hills High School. And the reason why I'm prejudiced because that was one of my teams when I was in California. So you just have to forgive me. But this, I don't know if I can get this to full screen.
Bottom right.
Bottom right again. Okay, there it is. Okay. This is their presentation. Oh, I actually got audio.
Status?
Release conducted.
It is not too late. No time for surgery. Administer 120 cc's of nanobot solution. Stat.
See all the animation with the blood cells? They're going through there? But they've given the voices, they've recognized the effects and the editing. Okay. Now, where's yours?
You can just type Core 2062 on video here. Should show up.
Up here, I'm typing what?
Just if you scroll off and search Core 2062.
Oh, on the same, in the same.
Yeah, it's in video.
C-O-R-E.
Yep, 2062.
52.
62.
62. Everybody?
Yeah. There's a
Okay, which one should I show?
2010 animations.
Right.
What's
Got that one.
Yep, that one.
The only way to solve global problems like the energy crisis and clean water shortages is through innovation and engineering. Our solution was a vertical axis windmill kit. We will produce these kits for anyone to begin supplying their own household power. We will then use any profit for the construction of windmills in developing countries to power devices like Dean Kamen's Slingshot water purifier to help save the 2 children that have died while this animation has been playing. Together, we can go a long way towards solving these problems.
Okay. So how many storyboards did you use?
But
How many storyboards did you use?
we just drew it on paper. We did each one of those scenes had a storyboard. Each one had 3 cells, and we showed the times for each section for each one of the cells, and wrote the script below it. And I was the one that drew most of it. So we hand drew it.
So you hand drew everything. So you're saying you basically had about 3 frames for each scene that you had. And did you show color?
No, we did not.
So how did you maintain consistency of color?
We just each of us were responsible for different models. Like I did the Earth model, and some people we had the human model from the previous year, and so we just used the same one, just changed the shirt color stuff in different scenes. And so like each of us would model one scene, and then everybody would be responsible for animating that scene as well, and then the animator compiled them all together.
Could everybody hear him and what he was saying?
Look at what was made before and keep the same time.
Right.
We had a file sharing website online, so we shared the files back and forth.
Good idea, file sharing. Yep.
Everybody had access to the same files.
Okay.
Like it was the same windmill model in all those scenes.
Right. Right. Just sized, turned to a different angle. You know, however I wanted to see it.
We had everything to scale. So,
That's another one. But that's in the animation portions. I'm just doing storyboarding.
what program you used in previous
The Beverly Hills team used Maya, and the reason they used Maya is because of their mentor. Mike Gordon is an animator, and he's very, very familiar. And so he has been teaching them Maya now for about 4 years. So there's a continuous program going on about learning the software. So when they hit day one tomorrow, they already have a skill set. They already have things in their toolbox. They've already done some modeling. If I've got a character that I used from last year, and I can change the shirt color, and I can do this, and do a little bit of this, and do a little bit of that, I can just pull that character over and reuse that character, because that's a modeling piece. It's the same concept that what you've been doing with your robots. You know, if you've done your robots from year to year to year, you know there's a certain gear system that you want for your wheels, period. You know that you're going to be doing it. This is the same concept here when you're doing your animation piece. Questions? What did you think about it? For those of you over here who have not seen any of the animation, what do you think about it? I'll take that as a good who else is out there that
Do you go winners to those?
sorry, say that again?
The only way to solve global problems like the energy crisis and the clean water.
This one was from a couple years ago.
This one's from
Yeah, it's our safety animation. One kid did this. I needed
If you notice something unsafe, be sure to do something about it. Not only does your safety depend on it, but everybody else competing too.
the same human character that we use in our one.
Let's play this scene on the right.
I like
If
the
you
way
need help,
you've done
be sure to get it.
the arena.
If you see something or someone unsafe, be sure to take actions to fix it immediately. If a person is acting unsafe, be sure to graciously lend them a helping hand. Good luck, teams, and remember to always be safe and responsible while working.
That's a good one.
He did that completely by himself.
Is everybody up here, you think?
I don't know. Probably not everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we have the we just put our safety animation to this week.
Oh, can you see those?
That's a robot. That's your prototype. It's real.
I don't know. Yeah, I was afraid of that. My other team in California, Team 207, Hawthorne High School. A year ago, last September, somebody broke into the school and literally stole all the machines that they worked on, all their robots, everything. And the team was just really devastated. And I notice now their website's not even up. I don't know what they've done. I haven't talked to anybody this year. with this. What's another team that you know that, what was that team that, hold on a second. I've got this, some of the teams. So it's team 16, 17, would you think?
I think it's 1671 was the one. 1670. I don't know.
1617 was what had one. Would you think this video? Oh, wrong, keyboard. No.
Just marks it as one tag. I tried 16.
Well, I think we got some things on there we shouldn't be looking at.
We're in high school.
Okay. 21 old page. Let's do it this way. I'm back into it here. I hate different keyboards. Okay. Where the team list are? There we go. And then that's regional. Okay. We got to go to Wisconsin. Let's see who else is in here. Okay. 167, you think? We'll have a maybe? What other teams do you know that have animation out there? Do you know? Oh, they're hot. There's no hot.
I know more about it's happening, but I don't know if it's online at all. I just never seen it. They won the animation award at huge
MORE, right?
Looks like team 449.
Come on. Let's see what it says. This one, Marion.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they have it online.
I never looked at their website before. Well, at any rate, but it gives you an idea for a flavor. So the big charge is to come up with a story. That's going to be the hardest part. And then you'll be able to do do your storyboards, do your script, make sure you get your voices, that type of thing. Once the Autodesk site comes back up tomorrow, they have last year's and the year before's winners out there. Go look at it. Go see what they did. All of them are very different. I mean, the subjects can be just about anything. It should tie back into something about new technology, about something that FIRST is doing. I think your concept of doing the windmill idea was very, very good. But the story is the big thing. And then get the storyboard done, get your script done, then sketch them, simultaneously you should be doing some modeling of these, getting used to the software and that kind of thing. Any questions for anybody? I've given on the first page if you go out there and you get, for those of you, who doesn't, which teams here do not have software yet? All of you don't have software? Go to Autodesk will give you a free copy of the software. All you need to do is to get a hold of them and let them know. And that's that first link. There's
Storyboard software?
no. The animation software. What is the?
Student.autodesk.com/first.
It's first base.
Yeah.
It's first base. Is their home place, and it's a link that's shown in your. Oh, it's not Autodesk. Yeah, it's specialized animation software, and I can't remember what the name of it is.
They have 3ds Max.
Okay, they do have Maya and 3D Max.
They also have CAD. They have every program in there.
Right. But you as a team are eligible to have copies of that free. And all you have to do is just to get a hold of them, and they will. Some of it you can download, and then the big problem with that is you better have a really fast network, because I mean you could be there for days, and of course you get a timeout. You're done. Go home, go to bed. But they will send you all these, it'll be a regular box. It's a professional copy. It's not a step-down copy. Pardon? They send it to you, it's free. There's no, you just download it. See,
We're not expecting you to get parts this year? Will not be shipping to the parts?
I don't know that. In the times before when I've had to do anything with it, I've just contacted the Autodesk rep directly and said, this is who I am, I'm doing this for the team such and such. I need three copies or one copy that I can use on multiple machines, and explain what I'm doing, and they have to send it to me. So I guess I figure I know that much, that I should be able to, honest enough to be able to know what I'm doing. Anybody got any questions? Ideas about what you want to use? The next class in here is the beta testing of the control board. So control system. So you want that.
They give you a topic every year. Last year's topic was change your world.
Right.
So every year it's something like that. Like one year it was change your world using something in nature. It's always something.
And that's what's supposed to be. Now, last year, was it? Their website didn't come up until, what was it, Tuesday? It was really slow. And so what we did was that we encouraged everybody to, do what you can. You don't have to have software to think of the story. And as long and you kind of get it about first and that type of thing. Normally, then you can take it back and morph it into whatever it is. Now, I don't remember the topic for the visualization award being announced by Dean or the group.
No, you have to.
I think it was strictly going to the Autodesk. I know a long time ago they used to do that, but not now. There's just too much information that they've got to convey tomorrow morning.
This year, there's something that will make you
That's safety. That's another piece that's another way to get started next year, because that safety animation is due, the middle of December? Sometime in December. And so that's a good thing to get practice on next autumn, and go into school and start practicing the software and doing that and developing your own animation. It's a good off-season practice mode to be able to do and go through the whole process. You don't necessarily even have to present it. It could be something that you develop and do, and then you have on your a laptop running at your pit area. So as the judges come by, oh, you did safety animation. It doesn't have to be, keeping in mind that's not something that has to be done. All those things that you can do outside the season, you want to be able to do as much as you can, because 6 weeks goes by very, very quickly.
We've been doing modeling over the summer, getting some basic characters, we've been training people, getting more familiar with these software and stuff. One thing we have always had problems with is we always storyboard, and then in the middle of animating, we come up with this another plot that's totally great, and then we don't have time to go back and re-storyboard.
Right.
It's not something we have learned not to do.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why it's really good to sit and really do that brainstorming up front so that you can get it. And I think that's one of the things that actually doing a rough sketch out. And that's one of the things I've done for you over here is here's just some blank frames that if you made photocopies of 4 or 5 of those and pass them around, and people could sketch out what they want. It doesn't have to be pretty. It can be stick figures. It can be, what you're just trying to do is convey the story and to do that. And so that's why I've given you lots of space around each frame so that you can write on here, this person's doing this saying this. I've got some specific action that I want to go on that I can't really show in the frame, but I want to make sure that it gets conveyed that this is part of my story. Well, I'm going to let you go then. Gives you about 10 minutes before the next class starts so that you can go. If you've got questions, I'm going to have the handout up on the Wisconsin First website so that you'll be able to download that, or if somebody else needs that. I'm not sure what they're doing with this video. I hope not doing anything too dramatic.
I don't think so.
Oh,